All right. So my name is Keith Gellhorn. I am the founder and chief empowerment officer at Advocacy. And today I'm going to introduce you Crystal, who is one of our newest advocacy coaches. So Crystal, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself and why you decided to come in and do some work with us?
All right, cool. Thank you so much. So I am a mother of two, and they are 3 and 6. I am a self-employed courier for the most part. That's my main source of income at the moment. I've been doing that for a couple of years. And recently, I guess within the past year, I went into coaching as a client myself. And during the process, I discovered that I was really drawn to this whole experience of coaching and how much it's done for me. And also realized that it was something that was really resonating to me to help other people with, like basing things off of my own experiences and things that I have overcome in my own life, and understanding, I guess, the whole reality of how things make up inside of us versus the external world. It just was, I guess, a big moment for me, almost like finding your passion in life. It's like this moment is right now. That's where I am, is, the years of trying different, different ways of earning income. In the past, I was really good at business side. I've taken accounting and information management at NSCC, done some work with accounting was my concentration, and I went into that field. I did some management as well, and I was really good at it. I won't deny, that was something that I found worked well for the skills that I'm good at. But the actual job satisfaction is just, that was, I could tell something was missing. And now that I've gotten into coaching and I've done, I have my own coaching under my own practice, I guess, just doing it on my own. I really enjoy it. And then I came across advocacy through a friend of mine, Lee, who's also a coach with the company. And I had never heard of such a thing before, having this, I didn't even actually know what neurodiversities were. I understand what they are, and after looking at, but the term neurodiversity, and having that aspect of as the focus point in coaching was almost like finding just finding a hidden gem, just wow, this, resonates with me so much. I didn't really understand that I had, I guess, such labels growing up as what I now classify myself as. I resonate with being ADHD, for having anxiety, and associating some symptoms of OCD as well. And for me, growing up, I just went, well, this is just something that I know is a part of me, and I just, did whatever I could to make things easy for myself, not recognizing that I had, I guess, a label. Just, I guess, noticing that I was different. And I guess the main thing is that brings me all to advocacy is just now realizing there are many people that are in the same boat I was in, and, just seeing their differences, sometimes in, in a bad light and sometimes in a good light. And I really am just drawn to helping people see that every part of us is unique and can be used in good ways. It's just finding the ways and the energy to put behind it and which direction to go for.
That's awesome. I like the way that you sum that up. Yeah, neurodiversity. It's only a term that I actually learned a couple of years ago. I was very hyper-focused on the clinical side of things. So listing off ADD. Well, I started out as an ADHD coach. That was my jam, right? But then the first client I worked with had ADHD, anxiety, learning disabilities, bipolar. And I was like, why am I classifying myself in this clinical way when there's, first of all, a whole bunch of other things that are going along with it. But really those pieces, that doesn't define who you are. That's a clinical label that they stamp on your head to summarize a challenge but it's not something that's actually leading you to something productive. And that's where I started learning about neurodiversity, which basically means neuro means brain, diversity means different. So we're different thinkers essentially, and started like we still need to use the labels because that's what people identify for. But what's underneath them is this more of the executive functions, right? So the organization or challenges with organization, time management, emotions management, communication, self-confidence, self-esteem, and all that jazz, right? So that's pretty much who we like working with. So can you tell me a bit more about your I've heard a bit about your work history or backstory. Can you tell me a little bit more about your personal backstory?
So I grew up in New Glasgow, and family of four, very close family. I really valued that. I had, really good connection with my parents and my brother. We did, a lot of family focused activities, such as, the main thing I resonate with is having family dinners, reconnecting at that aspect of our day, after being separated. And yeah, so I guess in terms of my past and this experience, in becoming a coach, my biggest struggle as a child, a young adult, and teenager was stealing. Actually, I didn't understand it for a long part of my life. What aspect of myself was drawing me into stealing? But through coaching, I did, recognize some of the patterns in my life and some of the, I guess, influences of some aspects that my parents, had struggled with themselves. But really, it came down to this level of not understanding myself and not recognizing some of the things within me that caused me to have anxiety for the most part, was what led, I believe, to my stealing. So definitely patterns, but also the resonance, not understanding what was going on within my body when I was feeling anxious. And I guess what I was experiencing at the time was going through the process of seeing an opportunity and weighing out the options, but just the actual process of do it, don't do it, good, bad, created this anxiety within me that it felt like the only way to escape it was just to do it and then walk away. Even though it sounds a little bit, I don't know, to others might not make a lot of sense because I know.
An adrenaline rush. That's what
Yes,
it is.
yes, the adrenaline.
I that's actually something that I have not talked about a lot in my personal stuff, but yeah, I had the same problem. You were talking about stealing, right? Ripping stuff off. But yeah, I did the same thing. I never stole anything big though. It was always food, candy, magazines, whatever. But in grade 6, my mom used to make my clothes, right? We had some hard times because my dad started his own business in 1986 when I was around that age range, around 12, 13. My mom made me this shirt that had a zipper in it. And in my household where I grew up, everything was healthy and limited, right? So you go into the fridge, it was powdered milk, a huge block of cheese from Costco, ham maybe if you're lucky, no condiments, no nothing, right? And I got a sweet tooth. It's kind of like, well, you can probably tell, right? I got a sweet tooth, and that was my thing. So I go to the store, but we also had no money either, right? So I didn't have money to buy stuff. Like my friends would go and get a slushie or a chocolate bar or whatever. So I didn't have that. And at the time, my dad didn't really believe in banks or something. He always had tons of money in he would have like $1,000 in his wallet, and I would just go and help myself to like $100 bill, and then I'd go down to the store, I'd buy something, but I'd buy maybe 25%, so it looks like I was buying something, and then I would walk out with the other stuff that I wanted, right, to be the good guy. And anyways, the thing that resonates most with me is in grade 9, there's a grocery store called Safeway that I used to go to, and go every morning on my way to school. and I'd steal a whole pile of stuff. I had a saddlebag that off my bike. I'd carry the saddlebag around, just shove like candy and everything in. And so this one day, it was actually on the way back from school, and it was a hot day. I was a really preppy kid, right? So I had this tight yellow sweater on. I walk in there and I go and steal a box of, I think they were called those drumsticks, like the pre-made ice cream cones, but I don't get just the small one. I get the family pack, right? So I shove it up my sweater, this big square sticking out of my sweater, and I'm walking around the store like nobody can see me, like I'm invisible, right? And then instead of beelining it out of there, I go back to the candy aisle and grab some licorice and chocolate bars and stuff, and then I just casually walk out of the store, sit on my mountain bike, and then I get grabbed by the back of my neck and like come and talk to me. So long story short, like, so I was like, oh, somebody made me do it. And the manager's like, somebody made you steal ice cream cones. Like, come on, man. What a bunch of crap. But I was also a really crappy liar. And so I remember, like, they called the police in, but they also called my mom. And so there's me talking to the policeman. The policeman's up here, I'm here, and my mom kind of is walking in the store. And she makes eye contact, because she always laughs about the story now. Makes eye contact with the police officer, and she's like, let him have it, right? So the police officer's like, yeah, you're going to jail, your life's over, this and that. I got banned from Safeway for life. Still am. Well, they've torn it down now, so I'm good now. But yeah, and then from that point, put me into psych. That was my first stint with going with a psychiatrist to figure out what was wrong with me. But for me, it was twofold. It was an adrenaline rush. It came from a place of scarcity, because we were never allowed to touch that stuff. And when I'm told I'm not allowed to do so, I hate authority. Never allowed to do it. Like, screw you, I'm going to do it anyways. I wasn't thinking about the consequences. So it's interesting you bring that up. I've omitted that in my story time, but yeah, wanted to share something there. So how did it end up then? How did you get through it or get around it?
Well, my story, I guess, drags out a little longer than that. I didn't actually, I guess, get any type of help as a young adult. And it kind of just became that part of me that I went to, I guess, or that would pop up, I guess, during those moments where, and not, as a young person, not recognizing what is going on within my body, not understanding that we have chemical balances, we have, just different things that actually even affect how we think, act, and feel on a daily basis. So I was just like, well, there's something wrong with me. I don't know what it is, but I just feel better when I do this, or, that and at the time, I wouldn't even get the anxiety after doing it. Like, I wasn't scared about the getting caught part. I was like, actually, I would say pretty damn confident with myself that I would think of a story before I would complete the act, that I would have, and it was denial to the fullest, because, you didn't catch me. There's no way I'm going to own up to it.
Yeah.
But it did, progress into something that kind of took hold of my life. So let's be honest, I claimed to be an accountant in the past, and a thief and an accountant did not end well.
No.
I did go through a process where I had to, face some court charges and, reevaluation of my life and what, what I should be doing for myself to support myself. But I will claim that getting caught, and I even knew it before it was kind of like, I just need to get caught for this to stop. I went to the doctor.
100%.
I went to the doctors when things started to get really intense, and I knew that I was over my head, and this was, not just your average going to the store or stealing anymore, that I was, doing things that were definitely wrong.
Okay.
And at that time, so I know that I was on a medication at the time for anxiety. I had gone through something non-related in my life in my 20s that caused me to go into a depression and be put on anxiety medication for the first time in my life. But I will say that almost made things worse. Not having the ability to feel, like I almost felt, because I was like this, I was doing anything to feel this again.
I can relate.
Yeah, it moved to drug abuse even more. And so I got to that point of going to the doctor saying, listen, I can't stop stealing. I don't know what to do. Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, even after I got caught, I tried to go to mental health court. I tried to say, you know what, I knew damn well I wasn't, you know, supposed to be doing that. And
Yeah.
I want help, and I want someone to kind of even recognize the fact that, you know, I don't think this is just, I need to be punished. I think it's that there is a reason behind why, and I am a good person, you know, otherwise, you know, like I treat people really well. And for the most part, whenever I stole, it was not from people, it was from this, you know, this idea instilled to me from my parents, actually, that, you know, corporations are greedy and evil and bad. And it
Yeah.
does,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Same mindset.
yeah, yeah. And I came from the lack of, you know, as well. And my dad used to do stealing, and, you know, we would go to the grocery store. Oh yeah, I just eat those grapes. It's not, you know, so those little things
Yeah.
really build up within a person. So, and now looking back, I am happy that I got, you know, went through the process of court and being caught and, you know, owning up to those things. But I will actually say it didn't completely fix that internal
Love
uh,
that.
awareness. Like even just
True.
like, oh my gosh, like I could steal that right now. Nobody would know. Like it was almost
Yeah.
like I wish I could turn off the ability of seeing ways that I could do stuff. But I will say I am healed from that. And the only thing that actually helped me was coaching.
That's awesome.
The,
Well, that kind of gets to my next question. So, why did you get into coaching? Right? Like, was it specifically related to that?
no, actually, it wasn't related to that. I just was intrigued by the process. I had, you know, it just, you know, how looking back at it, I think that sometimes things just happen the exact way that they're supposed to. Like the
Yeah.
synchronicity behind me finding the person that I trained with as a coach, and you know, just the things that the intuition, the sense I felt in myself that was kind of like, you want to do this, you want to explore this, right? And it was a big leap for me to become a coach. Like I couldn't understand. Like I had to explain to my husband, like, oh, I'm gonna spend money on doing this, and like we'd never spent money, you know, like in a long time
Right.
on investing in yourself. So it was, you know, and came out of the blue. But yes, it was, the coaching was, you know, has, that's why I just need to keep doing it. I'm like, if everybody could understand how much my life has changed since I got into coaching, then that's
Yeah.
the only thing I need to preach anymore, is just, you know, helping others see that same connection.
Yeah. I love that answer. So, what makes you a great coach?
I am a great coach because I have been pretty fearless and messy in my life. So I am very, you know, I'm very outgoing now, but I have always been. I'm really the type of person that, hey, okay, something new, let's try it. You know, nothing to hurt here. But as well, I'm a fighter. I'm a leader. I'm just that type of person that wants to stand up for, you know, for myself. Of course, that was the main thing in my life, was um, like even to go back into my school days. So not knowing I had, you know, ADD, but recognizing that things were different for me, um, but not being scared to voice it. So for that part of my story, I actually went to my teachers in high school and said, I find I can listen to you better when I'm allowed to do something else with my hands, like even writing, like to the point of, let me work on something, like even homework from another class, and I will still hear you. And I will
Yeah.
actually hear you better than if I'm staring straight at your face, because it, and I said, test me on this, like, you know, let me do
Hmm.
something at the end of the class, let's discuss, and I'll be able to tell you what you were talking about. And so, you know, I had that desire to always take that step of of inquiry into, you know, finding different aspects of life, and the way, you know, even what's out there, like trying different modalities, just trying, you know, oh, I'm sore, I'm going to try a massage, I'm going to try acupuncture. Like I'm always
Yeah. I
open
love
to
that.
things and experiences and learning from that. And I'm not shy to tell other people, you know, and not, but at the same time, I think I'm a good coach because I don't I don't actually want to tell people what to do. I want to help them find their own answers, because I don't really know what's going to work for every single individual, because I
That's
didn't
great.
like being told what to do either. It was like
Yeah.
going to, I've been there too, going to a counselor and them telling you, oh, well, you should probably do this. But in your heart, you're like, no, that doesn't make it's no.
Yeah.
So then, getting into the coaching and the style of coaching, I guess, that I am accustomed to, it's more so helping to hold space for somebody to find what is going to work for them, because we all have a different way of doing things, different perspective, and I don't think we're meant to follow along the same lines as everybody else.
I love that perspective, and that's what's most important. I always tell people when I'm doing intakes or talking to somebody new, what makes myself and the coaches unique is the fact that we have this background, right? And we can actually truly empathize with where people are coming from. And yes, we have strategies, and I have lots of clients that come in. It's like, I just want strategies. I was like, you know what? You can go and read a book. You can go watch a movie. You can go online. You can learn about all these different strategies. Um, but what we do is we give you a process, right? We take our past experience, usually a screw up of some sort, right? Technically, uh, combined with that aha moment that you're currently experiencing. And I actually, we all experience that. I think that's one thing about most coaches that are out there. We're constantly learning, constantly like bringing in information, networking with other people, have coaches ourselves, whether they're formal or informal, and are constantly kind of moving ourselves forward. And not, if we do go into a do suggest a strategy, and for whatever reason, right, like this happens to me all the time, right, people are like, yeah, I didn't do it, and they feel this massive sense of guilt, which I think the formal system drives that in a lot of ways, right? It's like, well, I gave you something to do and you didn't do it. School is a perfect example, right? Well, I gave you an assignment and you didn't complete it, so you get an F. That doesn't mean that they're an F student. That means something got in their way, some sort of quirk got in their way to not be able to complete it. So in the coaching, we're looking at like, what's the quirk? What happened? Well, my cat died yesterday and I feel really depressed. Fair enough, man. I'd feel depressed too if my cat died, right? So how do you communicate that back to them, saying, hey, listen, like, so I've done this with people, but they won't say, like, a lot of students, for example, or individuals won't say anything because they're like, well, who cares, right? Like, nobody cares about my feelings or whatever. It's like, have you tried to broach that, right? So I've helped like students, and I'll say the same thing, right? So it's like, I experienced a massive loss. Somebody close to my family died yesterday. I know this thing is due in 2 days or whatever it happens to be. Is there any way I can get an extension? I'm not going to ask for extensions forever. It's just, I'm experiencing some grief right now. Can I get a little bit of leeway for this? And then I'll just get back on track, right? That is the most powerful thing that you can do, right? And just opening up and being like authentic, which I know you use language a lot, and so do I. Be authentic, and then you can have people kind of receive you where you are. But if you beat around the bush or just say, well, screw it, I'm not going to bother doing it because they're obviously not going to give a crap about me, you're going to get that stuck results. And you asserted yourself when you were coming through the mental or through that process you mentioned, saying that you needed some extra support on your mental health to actually get to the root of it. I've done it too, and that's what we really focus on with our guys, is helping them do the same thing. You don't have to be embarrassed. People make mistakes and people think differently, and we do different things. Doesn't mean we can't get unstuck and be really successful in our lives moving forward. So it's funny because this is the first time I've heard you talk about that experience in your life. I didn't know that at all. And like I said, first time me sharing it too, I think. But here we are. We're successful and we're moving on with life. You've got it. Like I said, I met your kids there a couple of weeks ago. Most amazing like happy, awesome kids that I've ever met. Like how old are your kids, by the way?
They're 3 and 6.
3 and 6, like chatty, curious, right in there looking to make you their new best friend, essentially. That's amazing. And that obviously has some influence from the parents. So I'm giving you props for that. So my last question, when you're thinking about who your ideal client is, what does that look like?
Okay. This is something I've been kind of working on, especially because I'm, newer to coaching, and, I was something I was like, wow, I could actually narrow it down and have like one type of person. So I guess if I could really sum it up, it would just be somebody who feels like they're just misunderstood. First of all, like if I could just put it in a big perspective, like someone who feels that if they, that they're misunderstood, like they're trying to be, a square peg put into a round hole. Somebody who understands that, if they were just given a little extra space, that they could probably create something, that would amaze themselves and others. But if I were to, classify it down, I'm really starting to get really drawn into helping other parents, because I will admit at first I didn't resonate with that idea, because parts of me were like, oh my gosh, like I struggle as a parent. Well, I think we all do. And I think when we stop and give ourselves credit for the things that we do right, instead of focusing on the things that that we think are not going very well, we take a step back from it, look at it from a different perspective, and realize, you know what? The messy parts are the parts that are helping us grow. They are the parts that, let's break it down. You and I and other people who are strong at this, it's because we messed up and
Yeah.
we been there, done that. And instead of letting it push us down, we were like, no, like I went down, but I'm going to go 10 more steps higher than how much I got pushed down, because, it's like a spring, like, woo, here we
Yeah.
go. And, I also, though, resonate, I guess, with that little girl that I was as well in high school, when I was at that state of, understanding myself and standing up to the teachers and kind of being like, this just isn't working for me. And
I love that.
it comes back to where you were just talking about communication. And this is a big lesson that I've been helping my kids with recently, that has been actually helping the entire family, is when things are kind of getting all haywire, if you stop and just say, okay, this has to be communicated. Obviously, you have a need that's not being met or is being overmet or whatever, but I don't know how you're feeling. I don't know I don't know how this is affecting you. But I started to slow things down with the kids and show them, let's go back to like what's actually going on here, as opposed to what a feeling you're having. Like, I know your emotions are big and they're a strong indicator that something is off, but we are not our emotions. We are, a lot more than that. So if you can kind of take it down to that level of what is it that is actually triggering, like, or, like, why is that emotion coming out for you? Then we can actually, communicate to other individuals and support each other in that regard. So, yeah, I really enjoy as well. There's one other aspect, if I could say, of
Oh,
what
love it. Yeah.
are the ones that are, I guess, the soul seekers, the ones who are kind of, understanding. I really like coaching people that are just like, you know what, I am realizing that there is so much more to life than just plug in 9 to 5. I think that's where a real aspect of growth comes from, is, yes, we are here, we have to go, learn things, we have to work. But aside from that, what is that thing that really gets you going, like motivated? What things in your life are going to lift you up? Like, you need to take, I think it's the balance. Like, people have forgot in some sense that we are, we need a balance. So I also believe, I like helping people that are interested in understanding how to love themselves again, because I think that's another aspect that's kind of been missing, is self-love. It will go so far. When you love yourself, you can allow others to love you, and you can then love other people. So, and support, love is support. It's many things, but
Yeah.
that's those are the type of people that I'm really drawn to helping.
I love that because that fits perfectly in our demographic as it is, right? Like I said, in advocacy, we typically in the past have focused on kind of the high school students, and then that transition into post-secondary, help post-secondary students, the next transition into the work life, help people in the work life, which really is work life career. Actually, the life balance plays in all of those roles, right? And then also the creative types, like all of us. You're obviously an entrepreneur. You're working. You're doing courier service. You've got your own coaching practice. You're contracting for one of our mutual friends as well, coaching there. You're coaching with us, and you're basically creating a life for yourself that works for you, right? That ticks all those boxes. 9 to 5. This classic notion of you go to high school, you go to university, you get a 9 to 5 job, you come home, you make dinner together, you watch The Bachelorette, and you go to bed. That is a life, but that's not living, right? I used to actually be like that too. I go and do these, like I worked in the trades my whole life. So I go to work, I come home, I was completely fried, sit and watch TV for hours, eat dinner, go to bed. It was grueling. Absolutely. And I just couldn't wait till Friday to come. Now I can't wait for every day to come, because every single day I'm doing something, and it's always different, right? Every day with a new coachee is awesome. Every night I plan something out. I have the most amazing friends now. Like back in the day, I thought when you and I are talking about the top down, I don't know if you can relate to this, but anybody who's up here, I didn't think I deserved to be in the realm with those guys. So I was always sitting kind of in the gray zone or with the people in the black zone, right? So my relationships were all like that. My friendships were all like that. I look around, I'm like, nobody's going anywhere. And if you spend all your time with people who are going nowhere, where do you think you're going? Nowhere, right? Now I surround myself with really motivational people who have had the hardship, had the transition, and see a light. And I have no problem now hanging out with the people who I assumed are way up here, because you know what? Those people have the same problems that I do, right? I just thought or assumed that they didn't, right? And it's just a magical thing that we have the opportunity to be able to use our own personal lived experience to walk with people through that pathway, build a foundation based on understanding, self-compassion, self-love. I love, actually, you and Lee both mentioned the loving yourself first before you go off. That builds the foundation. Then we can add strategies to help you go to where you need to do. But the one resonating thing that I know from myself, I've heard it in you and I've heard it in Lee, we're people. We're still people. We still have challenges like this stuff. Even though we learn how to get through it, doesn't mean it just magically goes away. And so like for myself, I have my own coach. I have a personal coach. I have a business coach, and I have a therapist. But I employ a positive psychology therapist who actually used to be my teacher back at Nova Scotia Community College. And I know with him too, he's like, he's a therapist and he has a therapeutic approach and everything else. And to be honest, 95% of the time we talk, he thinks he's not doing anything for me. He's like, well, I should be like diving into the roots of the therapeutic process. And I was like, and it often comes up where he's feeling as a therapist that he's doing nothing for me. I'm like, no, man. He's like, maybe we should wrap this up. I'm like, nope, we're not wrapping this up. Just because I come in happy does not mean that what you're doing and how you're helping isn't serving me. And that's the hugest misconception, is that you have to be at the bottom of the pile to get coaching. That is not true. We have all kinds of high achievers we work with. Some of our students, like I had 2 students, I had one and Alana had one. both of them just graduated from Cape Breton University, same program, Dean's List with distinction. Both of them just got into master's program. Both of them got thousands of dollars in scholarships, right? But they need coaching still because they have challenges like everybody else, right? And the people that are struggling, they need it too. The reason they need it, it's not everybody's like, well, that person got a problem, so those are the ones that need the help. They're struggling here, so they need a help. That's not true either, right? They may require some support to get to where they need to be, but the people that are struggling, they don't want to be there. It's not a choice. We're not lazy. We're not, just being passive and not trying hard enough and all this that neurotypical, some anyways, assume we are. Who would in the right mind choose to wake up in the morning feeling like shit? No offense, right? So those people that are feeling like shit sometimes just want somebody else who gets them to help them move to where they want to be. So thank you so much for having this chat with us. And I am happy that you're now part of the advocacy family. And the reason for doing this video is specifically so when people come in, I know I'm not the be all end all for everybody. And we have a lot of other coaches that can also help, and looking forward to having you help us as we move forward and grow and become a bigger family. So that's what I'm going to say to that. And anyways, thank you so much for coming on. And if you want to learn more about Crystal, you can go and check our website. And that's it. You got to stop talking too much. All right.